Intimacy Part 4.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to address part 4, actually, of intimacy as it relates to dog training, particularly. I got a message from my cousin who asked when was part 2 coming out. And I think I may have mislabeled. So you may see two part 2s and a part 3, but they're out there. So this is going to be the conclusion, basically, and part 4 is going to be the conclusion. And so I really want to wrap this thing up in the sense of I need you guys to understand why I use the language that I use. I spoke about that. And then I do also want to add that I'm trying to be very careful not to offend other trainers and or deter potential trainers and that kind of thing. And so I'm very selective in the language that I use. The principles that I'm speaking of, I use in both canine assisted therapy and in dog training as well. And so that's why that lingo kind of blends the way it does. But there's a process that I want to talk about in summary, intimacy. And there's a process. You see, we need to understand or embrace the reality that in order for me to be intimate with another human being, intimate with our pets, I have to be realistic and transparent with who I am, how I function. And what I've discovered is that it begins with self and it ends with self. It's about me. It's about my energy when I'm with that dog. It's about my knowledge base when I'm with that dog. It's about my energy when I'm with those young people. It's about my knowledge base in problem solving and etc. with those young people. It begins with me. Self-evaluation. Now this is tricky because oftentimes, and I won't talk about other people, I've had moments, periods in my life where I had me messed up. I didn't have a clear perspective on who I was. I was delusional in my thinking. I've been in seasons where I sold myself the ticket. I was the tough guy. And I found that underneath all that, I wasn't tough at all. Actually, I was more afraid than tough. And my fear manifested itself in that way. I've met trainers who, I've been in phases of dog training myself when I thought I knew it, got the game and gone, only to discover later that when more was revealed, that I didn't know that I didn't know. I see it all the time in dog training. And I travel and compete and go to seminars and all of that thing. I would meet dog people, and some of the things that they would say to me, in my mind, I know. And maybe I had a general concept, but that was probably it. I remember training in Minnesota. I was training in Minnesota, and I won't mention names. And the trainer introduced me to his wife, and he said, she's probably forgotten more about obedience than you know. And I had been training, probably about 5, 10 years then. And I was offended at the statement. How dare you? As though it was impossible. This mindset kept me from growing, learning. It's hard to graft a new idea into a closed mind. And so in order for us to have a true self-evaluation, we have to be open-minded enough to take constructive criticism, listen to opposing points of view, those kind of things. This should happen before you get that dog in your hands, or before you deem yourself professional, Tony. And I had to grow through those experiences. So the first step, I believe, in preparing myself to have intimate relationships with my dogs, with my family members, with people in general, is that I need to have an honest assessment of myself. And oftentimes that's going to take feedback from others, because there's a side of self, the blind side, the side that I don't see. Other people can see it. I just can't see it. You know, I may, every time I say money, I may do like this. I need some money. Well, I don't have no money. I don't notice that I'm doing this until someone says, hey, Tony, why do you do this every time you say money? You see, so there's things about us that we won't see until someone points it out. In our handling with those dogs, it's things that those dogs do not see, understand, relate to. They're dogs, not humans. They don't know that they're wrong, and we scold them for not knowing. What if someone did that to us? Will we deem that an intimate relationship? I think not. So the first phase then would be self-evaluation. The second phase would be self-realization. And we'll get back to that. We're going to call this Intimacy Part 4A. And we will address self-realization, self-actualization, self-qualification, and self-duplication, right? And so we'll address those things as we go further into this, but I just needed to take a moment to set the stage. And then I want to ask a question too. Put it in your comments below. How many of you all would like for me to take this into a live segment? If you would participate in it, let me know. I don't have to do all that. I'm not into it like that. I'm just starting this whole social media piece. I don't know, retired, bored, something. Nevertheless, let me know what you think. I'll respond to you. But meanwhile, part 4B will be self-realization. But first, we must be able to assess ourselves, evaluate ourselves, and tell ourselves the truth about ourselves. Maybe I don't know it all. Maybe.